It's not enough just to have a big church. And I know so many big churches all over the world that are not making a difference. Because if you have a big church and you are not making a difference in your community and your society and your nation, it's just as good as having another club. So I don't care how many people you have in your church, 1 million, 100,000, but if you are not impacting the culture, you just entertaining people. Normally people will say church people should just remain in church because the church is separated from the state, and so you cannot influence the society, you cannot influence politics or the culture. When I began to study Matthew 28, I began to realize that the Great Commission is not really about evangelism. That might shake your theology a little bit, but it says, all power in heaven and on earth is been given unto me. And it says, go therefore. It didn't say and get people saved. It said, and make disciples of all nations, teaching them to observe all that I've taught you. Now, he says the focus of that Great Commission is that Jesus was challenging us to actually, not just to go and get a few people saved and make them into our church members and feel good about ourselves and say, I'm a mega church, I have all these people coming to me. The Great Commission is not about just getting individuals saved or discipled. It says, because all power has been won by me in heaven and on earth, with that power, I delegate to you to go and use that power. Now, can you imagine God's power in heaven and on earth? That is a huge power. God holds the whole earth and the whole universe in his hand. So he has huge power. And all that power, with all that authority in heaven and on earth, he commissions us to go just to disciple one person or just to get few individuals saved. That will not be proportional. If we are using all the power in heaven and on earth just to get in one person or two persons saved, that is disproportional to all power. So if God is giving us all power in heaven and on earth, the assignment should be proportional to the extent and to the magnitude of the power of God. So the burden and the concern of the heart of God really is about affecting a whole nation. And I tell you what, when we talk about nations, we are talking about the culture. We are talking about the trends and the tenets that dictate the culture of a given country, of a given nation. We need to begin to think about how can we as Christians begin to affect the culture. So there is a challenge in our hand. There is something to be shifted in the way we do church. If we don't change our focus from just doing church into transforming culture, guess what happens? The Hollywood, the media, BET will take the role of dictating values to our culture, and it's already happening. Most people in this culture right now follow Hollywood and the media more than they follow the principles of the gospel, because the church has been busy engaging in ourselves, locked up in ourselves, instead of focusing on what Jesus said we should focus on discipling the culture. He says, go ye therefore and make disciples of the whole nation, that is of the culture, teaching the culture, teaching the people the values of the kingdom, teaching them to observe what I have taught you. So Jesus is more concerned about the nation and the culture observing the truth and the principles that he taught us, that the principles of the kingdom of God. God is more concerned about us making those principles be prevalent in the society than doing our religious or sharing our religious experiences. Do you know nations are not great because of the virtue of their wealth? What makes nations great? Nations are great because of the wealth of their virtues, because of the wealth of their virtues. If we lose the wealth of virtue, we lose the nation. We have locked ourselves in the four walls of the church, and we are only doing our own thing. And until we come out of the four walls of the church and begin to be aggressive and proactive about imposing the kingdom of God upon the secular world and upon the lifestyle of the people, we stand a danger. Our hope and the hope of this nation is not tied with the political parties. I think the hope of this nation is tied with the Christian church, because as goes the church, goes the nation. And the Bible didn't tell us that the politicians are the light of the world. The Bible said, no, I believe in you. You are my people. You are the people I gave the authority to disciple nations. He said, you are the light of the world. All the Christians that we gather in churches, if they had become who God intended them to become, we won't be having this problem that we're having in the world. But just for people to fill pews, count me out. Count me out. Count me out.
Did you like the video? Go to smartandrelentless.com to see more life-changing and inspiring content. smartandrelentless.com. We are the light of the world.